It is a privilege to be joined on the summit today by Joshua Johnson, who is the head coach for competitive cheer at Friends University. Coach, you all are heading down to Oklahoma City this week. It's the OCU
Yeah,
Classic, and I'd love to hear about that. But I know you all have had 4 competitions already this year, so tell us a bit about how the year is going so far.
yeah, Joey. Thank you for having me out. It's great. This year we started off with a quick bang. Getting first in our home event, and then as the season goes on, we kind of took some bumps in the road, but I would say we've had a great season so far. I would say that we are performing well at where we should be. We're performing at my expectation level. And so I've been pretty proud of this group. We definitely are figuring things out where we are. We are where we are supposed to be at the right time. But yeah, no, our first part of this season has been a grind, but it's been great going to OCU this coming Thursday. I know Alicia, I know her team is going to be ready. They always have a great squad. I kind of look up to them, And so when I think about OCU, it's like, hey, like, yeah, they're good, but we're good too. And so going down this weekend is going to be fun. It's going to be exciting. I know we're going to get their best, and I know that they know that they're going to get our best. So our year's been great. We've been off to a good start, but yeah, I'm super excited to continue the season. And we got one more before we hit conference, and we're looking for that boost of energy right before we get into it. So yeah,
The field has been getting bigger in the KCAC when it gets to
yes, it
conference
has.
too, and I wanted to ask about that because over the
Yeah,
course of a season schedule, it's interesting that you're going to go into competition against maybe it's just going to be you and another team. Maybe it's there are 3 teams
yeah,
there, sometimes 5, 6, 7,
yeah.
with skills and certain things in the rubric that you have to perform. That's just a given, with any
Mhm.
routine. Is it different if it's a smaller group or larger group? How do you prepare your team to go into that competition?
Yeah, that's great because when you look at just doing like a duel where it's just you and another team, then you really can kind of focus on just you and kind of what you're doing. I mean, you do that when you have a large amount of teams, but when you have just a duel, it's like, okay, I'm coming down to compete against this one school, regardless if it's for a strength of schedule or it's for just to get another score in.
Mm.
It's you don't have a lot going on, so you're not bothered by a lot. It's you literally can get down and focus on just you and what you're doing versus when you're going against other schools, right? And or you're going to a competition where there's 10 plus schools or even 7 plus schools, okay? Because now you're looking at who's at this competition that's in my conference, right?
Mhm.
Who's at this competition that I'm going to be seeing at nationals, do we need to watch for these routines or what are they doing versus what we're doing? So the difference between a dual competition and, a much larger competition is just who all is going to be there. Is this a mini nationals? Is this a mini KCAC conference championship? But you definitely keep your eye on those teams. So we definitely keep our eyes on University of St. Mary. They're in the KCAC. They're teams that we compete against. Avila, Bethel College. So there's a lot of great teams in the KCAC, and as the years go on, you just see the conference just growing and growing and growing, and to be able to compete and keep yourself at that high level, it's like, hey, like we got to start throwing, harder things. We got to start preparing ourselves for competing against the teams that we're going to see at nationals, right? Now, obviously, keeping everything in perspective and not trying to get too out of the box, challenging the athletes and everything like that. You kind of want to make it hard enough to where you're like, hey, you know what? If I don't win conference, how can I get an at-large bid? Because those go into effect as well. And so those are just things that are running through my mind all at the same time of, hey, I'm trying to get us ready for a competition. So I have all those things running through my mind at the same time. But I would say there's pros and cons to going to a dual competition and a larger competition with more than just 2 teams. There's definitely some pros and some cons. And to me personally, it doesn't matter. When we host our home event in the beginning of the year, we try to get as many teams out as possible. We want that exposure. But as you get later in the year, when you're trying to get that 1 or 2 more scores, a duel can help you out just because, hey, you're just going against one other team. And I can just, hey, focus on exactly what I need to do and hit my routine.
Exactly.
So, yeah, it's fun at the same time. So,
What's the roster size this year, Coach? And
yeah.
how does something like that affect your routine?
Yeah, I would say roster size total, we're about that 50 mark between cheer and dance. Now, keep in mind that's not all 50 or 40 athletes are competitive. Okay,
Right.
when we are doing our I guess, tryout or whatever for Matt and all that kind of stuff. It's, we narrow it down to about 20, 25 of who's going to compete for our cheer team. Our dance team is a little more on the smaller side. They're pretty new in the past couple of years. So Coach Taylor should be doing an amazing job with our dance team. And, I love that group. I love the energy that they bring every day. I'm not at dance practices, but I do check in every now and then. And they have a really close knit group. And so I'm excited to see their growth in their future. But as far as cheer, it's definitely, we went from 25 to 15. We're competing this year in our in the NAIA/KCAC with 15, 16. But it's made it very competitive. It's made some kids realize, like, hey, like, this is the real deal. This is what we're getting into. So when it comes to recruiting and everything like that, it's like, again, what's going through my mind? Am I recruiting because I'm recruiting you to be a comp kid? Are you going to compete every competition? Or do I need to get one competition from you? Are you going to be a game day kid? So you start seeing the different type of athletes you get when you're recruiting, okay? And in that, when you're recruiting, it's like, all right, now I know who's going to be my top 20, top 30 athletes of who's going to compete for me. And basically now after that, it's like, hey, we're going to throw skills. So whether it's like, hey, we're going to throw rewinds, or we're going to throw hand to hands, or we're going to throw for handspring ups, back handspring ups. It's like, now I'm putting kids together who can throw these skills.
Yeah.
Does it work out all the time? No, but you definitely got to do what you got to do in order to win and get your name out there and just become a dominant school. But at the end of the day, their safety and their health is definitely the most important thing. And so yes, we're trying to throw these hard skills. Yes, we have a roster of 15 that we're competing with, but at the same time, I want to keep them healthy because it's a long year. It's a long season, and not everybody understands how long cheer and dance seasons are. But it's a long season. But at this point of the year, it's like what we have for our 15, 16 group. It's like, hey, they're going to carry us. They're going to carry us, and now it's just about doing what's best for us in that moment, regardless if we're going against OCU or we're going against St. Ambrose or Indiana Wesleyan. Those top teams that we're going to see at nationals. Regardless of who we're going against, we got to worry about ourselves and just doing what's best for us. So.
Visiting now with Joshua Johnson, the head cheer coach at Friends University. And Coach, at this point in the season, then, you have this competition, then you do the conference and nationals.
Yeah.
How do you or can you make too many adjustments at this point in the year? When you see something on Thursday, can you make too many adjustments to head into conference?
Yeah, I actually like that. We actually changed some things this week preparing for OCU. And so kind of how you do it, well, every coach is different, but kind of how I do it is I like to roll with momentum. If we're hitting our routine and we're not coming out with 5 or 6 deductions or 2 or 3, and you can feel the close knit of the team. I like to just roll with what we have, because each competition is different. And that's why I think the sport is it's so clever, because it's like we may hit our first 3 competitions, and then come the 4th competition, we may fall or come with so many deductions. And that's just a part of it. Being a coach in the cheer world, like, you got to understand you're going to have some ups and some downs. But, can you make changes? Is it impossible? No, it's not. Yes, you can make changes, but I try to make them as little as possible, because I have those athletes that I like to lean on, that I'm like, hey, I need you to do this, or can you give me an extra tumbling pass? Or, hey, I need you to be in 2 baskets, or I need you to fly these pyramids and then do something else as well. It can be a lot to ask of an athlete, but again, you have those athletes that you can depend on and that you put in those positions to be successful. But I don't think it's ever too late in the game to change, especially what you're doing, because, as the year goes on, you want to progress. You want to get harder. You want your routine to be a little bit more flashier, have a little bit more choreo. I could talk all day about cheer. It's so fun, but
I'm
we
enjoying it,
did,
Coach. You feel free to
yeah.
talk, man.
We made some changes for our OCU Classic that we have coming up. But at the end of the day, it's when we go out there, are we going to hit? Am I going to put them in a position to where they feel confident? Are we going to hit? Because after this, we have 2 weeks, and then we're preparing for conference. And that's one of our biggest competitions is our conference championship. And the past 3 years, we've won two of the last 3, and we're looking to stay on top. We're looking to stay dominant. But like I said before, there's great teams. There's great teams in KCAC. Alpha's right there. St. Mary's right there. Bethel. There's teams that Ken Swesson, and I'm like, I'm never gonna overlook a team. I would never want a team to overlook us, and that just is fuel to the fire. So I would never personally overlook a team. So we always want to make sure we're sharp and doing what we're supposed to do too. So yeah,
You talk about the KCAC and in cheer and dance both in the
yeah,
last few years. Again, the field is growing, and not only that,
yeah,
but there is more competition. Each of these teams
hmm,
in the conference seems to be getting better as they go along. And in
yeah,
reference to dance, you mentioned the dance team there at Friends just a little bit earlier. I'd ask about that.
yeah,
This is relatively new to the school. One of the
yeah,
things about Friends too, by the way, props to Dr. Ramsire. I mean, he is increasing the competitive the teams there, and you're getting new teams and new sports,
yeah,
new things all the time. It seems like, and there's always something great happening in Wichita. But the dance team
yeah.
is relatively new. I wanted to ask about
Mhm.
that. How's it going? And is there any crossover between some of the athletes?
Yeah, no, that's great. Like I said before, I love Coach Taylor. She's done wonderful things with our dance program. They're growing. Like you said, they're fairly new in the past couple of years, but what she's been doing behind the scenes and trying to recruit and prep her kids for the future, I think is going to be a really good thing for Friends. As far as being a part of Friends University, this is something that I could never dream of. Being in the right spot and at the right time, to get hired into this position and being able to work underneath Rob has been nothing short of amazing. He has really bought into cheer and dance, and he does exactly what he needs to make sure that we're successful and we have all the tools and everything to go out and put our best foot forward as far as the cheer and dance program. You can look at different teams across the nation, whether it's NAI or Division One, and I can definitely say, as a athletic director that I work underneath, he's well prepared and he understands cheer and dance, and I couldn't say enough great things about Rob. So, but as far as our dance team, I expect them to be competitive as well. I expect them in the next couple of years to shoot for a conference championship. We're going to go out there and win. Why not try and do it? So Coach Taylor's done a great job, and there's recruiting is never easy, but at the same time, I think she's doing a lot of behind the scenes work that not a lot of people see, and so trying to build that roster. And it's hard because, like, you don't want to have too many on the dance side. I'll speak for the dance side, not cheer side for a second, but you don't want to have too many dancers, right? Because then when you have a certain amount of number that you can put out there on the floor, it's like, all right, well, how many do we want to compete with all year? Do we want to go with 12, 15? So that's also what we take in consideration when it comes time for recruiting and everything like that. And it's a little bit different than cheer, different rules and regulations and stuff like that you got to follow. So I trust Coach Taylor. I trust her gut, and then what she's doing and how she teaches and how she coaches. I stand behind 100%. So she's definitely growing that dance program, and all I'm doing is, hey, I support you along the way. Let me know how I can help you out. So. But yeah, it's being a part of Friends and being a part of this culture is something that I look forward to being a part of for a very long time. There's always something going on around here. If it's football, if it's basketball winning, if it's wrestling taking off, it's definitely fun to be around. It's just a fun environment, and I come to work every day and I just smile because I see all the coaches and how excited they are and the athletes. It's a cool environment to be a part of. So
Well, I was hoping that I might be able to make the trip up to see the competition at OCU on Thursday. It's not going to
I
happen,
think you should.
but well, I know, and it's there was another obligation that just
So
it tipped the scale just a little bit.
that's
But
all
in
right.
saying that, though, Coach, without giving away state secrets, what do we expect to see
Mhm.
from Friends at the OCU Classic?
I definitely expect to see, a very high power routine. We're throwing elite level skills that we threw one time, and try to get a high score. You got to throw things to where you're flipping and spinning to one leg, and so you can expect to see some high level skills. Now, our expectation is to go out and hit, okay, but what we are definitely trying to do is build that momentum and build that confidence for conference championship for our KCAC conference. So some high power skills. We did change up our pyramid a little bit. So something new, something flashy, that I haven't seen before anybody throw. Not that there's nothing new under the sun, but I just haven't seen it throw. So just a little bit different of our entry of our pyramid. Our elite skills are a little bit sharper. We went down a group, and so we're right at that max level. So I'm excited to see what they got, and I'm excited to put a little bit of pressure on our kids and say, hey, you want this high level routine, let's go out and hit it, you know? So changed up our tumbling a little bit, you know, added some kids, took some kids out. But I definitely think that they're ready. They're definitely ready. And again, Alicia's done a great job with the OCU program and how they're just rolling, you know, they're a high power team. And so we're looking to stay relevant, and it's their senior night. So I want to put some pressure on OCU as well. So, so
I understand. Well, Coach, success to you
yeah,
all, and a safe trip down and back to get that done and taken care of. And we look forward to following along. Hopefully, we get to see some video from that competition. The OCU Classic
sure.
Friends will be there on Thursday, and KCAC in mid-March after that, and then Nationals once again in Ypsilanti. And I hope that you all have an opportunity to make it that far. We're going to follow you, Coach, and
Yeah.
we would love to get an opportunity to visit with you again here on the summit. So thank you very much for taking time with us today.
I appreciate it. Thank you for having me out.